And we are live. It is 5:15 p.m. Eastern, 2:15 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday, June the 17th, 2020. And welcome to NasCanucks. I'm your host, Ben, along with my cousin, Doug. How's it going?
You know what? It's been a fantastic week.
Hasn't it?
I'm not sure why, but it's just been a fantastic week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I'm thinking, you're not just talking about the weather. It really depends
I may have looked very, very smart last week.
Yeah. Why don't we'll pick up where we left off last week, which was our predictions for last Wednesday night. We decided, since it was our first show, we would just pick our favorite drivers, which we are both, representing today.
My pick wasn't just because of my favorite driver. Right? But
you had a feeling.
Wednesday night, Martinsville, Martin Truex Jr. with the win. With the win, we got the confetti here and everything.
I would have presented you for that one.
Actual Coca-Cola 600 confetti from 2016 when he won in Charlotte.
Nice.
I was picking that out of my underwear and hat and everything else.
Yeah. That was the year of domination.
The year of domination, yes. It was like practice, qualifying, everything, and it was like
the entire race.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that covers. Let's see. Since we do the show every Wednesday afternoon here, we've only had 5 races in the Big 3 series since the last show aired. So we covered last Wednesday night at Martinsville, and then we came rolling into Homestead for back-to-back double-head races between the 3 series, including the Xfinity series, running a back-to-back weekend just on their own.
Exactly. Yep. So
some great stuff.
Oh, what that ending, that first race, the ending, I think was fantastic.
Yeah. So the first race of the weekend was the Xfinity series.
Yep, Xfinity on Saturday, and Jeff's kid, Harrison Burton, winning that one.
Wow. Yeah. What a finish! Ended up a late race caution, and then we were watching clean 3-wide racing for the win.
Yeah,
which was just absolutely great. I couldn't. Well, I remember I texted you as soon as I watched the final. I'd be like, "That's how a race should end."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then we moved on to we let the sun go down, and we were racing under the lights in the truck series.
Yeah, and then the Earth went back on its axis, and Kyle came home with the win.
Yeah, well, the guy has averaged 1 in 3 starts a win since he started.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I really like that there was not as much, Kyle beating all the kids anymore, because, of course, hey, did the other Cup regular not win? Is that why you were upset?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hey, we got a few folks joining us here. We got Joe Hervey 84 and Guitar Man 45 tuning in.
Yeah.
Joe says, "Don't tell anyone I like racing." Hey, don't worry. We only got 2 people watching, so nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
So, but anyone that is watching on the replay, I forgot to mention it last week, but if you have any questions for either of us, leave them in the comments down below, and we will be checking the comments prior to the next week's show. So, should mention that. So, after that truck win, I don't know, it's win number 5,000 or something for Kyle in the truck series. Yeah. And then we move on to Sunday.
I'm going to go on I'm just going to go time with another little rant for myself, because I know I know what's going to be coming up in the show, and I think it's just going to be you ranting the rest of the show. But my rant is that everyone is upset with Kyle winning. Here's the deal with Kyle. He does his five races, but his 5 races, that gets the money for those other teams. That makes up those other teams that he has to be able to race, right? No different than Kelly Earnhardt, who when she said when Dale retired, she's like, "How are we going to get the money in?" Because Dale's one race on Saturday, which he didn't win, that makes up his one race makes up enough money for those other 3 cars. That brings in money. That helps them
a lot of money
be able to go, right? Then the other thing with Kyle, if people want Kyle to finish, and Kyle said that if he can't race the trucks, he's done, right? And we've been to the KBM shop. That is a Cup shop.
That shop produces a lot of content for this series, and not just from fielding trucks, but also supplying and maintaining trucks for other teams.
Exactly. Like KBM supplies half of the chassis for the truck series.
Yeah. Little known secret, folks, over the last, I'm going to say conservatively 15 years, almost 20 years, between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, those two guys alone are responsible for keeping that series alive the last 20 years. Before Kyle did it, it was Kevin Harvick Racing, which he folded prior to having kids. Yep. And at that time, they were supplying over a third of the chassis. And there was still a handful of cup teams that had support programs in that series too. So they're already obviously building their own stuff. Hey, we got Bent Tom in the chat as well here.
So my thing is you get rid of Kyle Busch Motorsports, kiss that truck series goodbye.
Yeah. Exactly. So moving on to Sunday. So we started off with the another Xfinity race to start the day.
Yep.
And I do want to say on the Saturday race that, man, for a guy who hadn't been behind the wheel all year, Dale Jr. looked pretty damn good out there.
Yeah. Like he was in contention right up to the end.
Yeah, great stuff. So moving into Sunday, we had as a result of some ballast falling out of Chase Briscoe's car prior to the Saturday race, he lost a significant portion of his team. I think it was including his crew chief, 4 team members.
Yeah, but
so as a result,
crew chief,
Greg Zipadelli
give me Scott Zipadelli. Like here, let's give like a cup winning crew chief,
champion
crew chief. Here, you just have him.
Yeah.
So Chase, and then Chase goes on to win.
Yeah.
Chase goes on to win that race, and another hard luck race for Noah Gragson.
Yeah.
Like that was both races, he was right there.
Yeah, he had a good competitive car all weekend. And one of the few that did, because it wasn't the exact same cars up front both days. No.
But speaking of cars up front, go back to Jeff's kid, as I like to call him, Harrison Burton. He's been top 10 every Xfinity race this year.
Yep.
For a rookie.
Yep.
Being top 10 in every race. That's not something to sneeze at.
No, it kind of reminds me of his old man in many ways.
A little bit, yeah. And he's not a talker. He just goes out there and he does it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really, really cool stuff. And then, after
the one other thing with that race is, I'm not sure, we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but what about Sheldon Creed having the 3 options? I don't know if you remember that from the race. I can go either down pit road, I can make a right, go back up on the track, I'm going to lose a lap, or I can nose into that end of the pit wall.
You know what? I think he made the right call because there was next to no damage to that car.
Oh, no. He destroyed those water barrels.
Yeah.
But, no damage to the car. But just, who thought that option would have been the one to pick?
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of Matt Kenseth at Dover.
Yeah.
So, and then we had a very long pre-race for the Cup guys. Get in your car, out of your car, in your car, out of your car. We got a bit of rain. We got a lot of lightning in the area. And then we finally got the race off. And again,
I don't feel bad for those drivers getting in and out of the cars. What I do feel bad for is Dave Moody having to climb up and down that ladder to his tower in turn 2 for that race, because he'd just climb up there and then there'd be that lightning strike and then he'd have to climb back down again. And Dave's like me. Dave's not a small guy.
No. Dave got to work out on Sunday.
There's no need for exercise.
Yeah, and and again, some good racing. As much as that track cures and ages, it's very much like the old Atlanta.
Yeah,
it was great to see guys rim riding all the way around, and
My only thing was Truex couldn't find the front end of his car. He was having issues with that all night, and even the one point I laughed because I do listen to his radio every race, just because it's way better than listening to Jeff Gordon.
True.
Yeah. So even at one point he was like, "This car is garbage," right? And James Small, the crew chief, comes on the radio and is like, "You're running the fastest laps of anybody. Suck it up." Right? And Martin's like, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep doing this." But it's that ill handling race car, because there's, you got no practice, no qualifying. You're just
no practice, no qualifying, and no downforce.
No, just unload and go.
Yep. Love it. That's the way it should be.
So then you got Denny Hamlin taking all 2 stages, and the win.
Yep. And he has, he's always been pretty good at that track.
Yep.
But I don't know if you could even use previous races against it, because they're usually running there in November.
Well, exactly.
Not
now
June.
Middle of June. So now we've got to wait till November to see if that track actually does produce the champion like it has the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I was surprised too. I heard one of the concerns over the race weekend, because one of the reasons you don't run in Florida this time of year, because of the heat and the humidity, how it would affect the drivers. And we had, I think, a couple of 2 or 3 guys ran both Xfinity races and the Cup race.
Yep.
So they were able to do it. So, and I think part of it, that extra delay between the 2 races Sunday, I'm sure helped.
Yeah, because Austin Dillon had his issues Wednesday night at Martinsville, but that was a crush panel. Yeah, but he had the heat and he was sucking in fumes.
Ben Tom asks, is Denny Hamlin still racing for Toyota?
Yes, he is.
Indeed.
Yeah,
racing for our friends over at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yes, and they are our friends at Joe Gibbs Racing.
That's right, literally. And Hamlin's car would have been one of the cars that I got to kind of look around real up close during a certain tour.
We almost turned wrenches on that car. If we were told later, if we would have asked, we probably could have.
Yeah, and that was Denny's All-Star race car.
Yep, that was going to be then used as a backup for the 600.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and so then, and talking about exhaustion, Austin Dillon, wife has the kid in the morning. He's down in Florida in the afternoon.
Yep.
Which, how about that for a social media presence? The kid, I noticed that Ace, who they've named the child Ace RC Dillon. Wonder what that RC is for. But he's already got his own Twitter. He had his own Twitter back in February. He's got his own social media presence already.
Yeah. I don't think this kid's going to be too sheltered.
No, not at all.
No. So, yeah, definitely a lot of great racing all weekend. And then now we're looking forward to we got the midweek off, and we're getting into Talladega this weekend. Yes,
and before we go on to Talladega at all, I want to check in. I believe I haven't got a chance to confirm it, but was it Friday, Saturday? I think it was Friday and Saturday night. Kyle Larson takes both World of Outlaws races.
Nice.
And I want to say they were in Knoxville. I'm not sure. I just can't remember where they were exactly were, but Larson takes both races. We talked about that before. He's, that's where he wants to be.
That's always where his heart was, anyways.
NASCAR brings the money. The dirt brings his happiness.
Yeah, I remember. I want to say it was I think it was our second year headed down to Charlotte. Our second year headed down, and we're driving down, and you're like, man, I hope we get the dirt races in. They're not going to be rained out and compressed like last year. And they said, yeah, and did you hear about this kid out of California that's been tearing up the circuit? And you're like, who's that again? I said, this Larson kid, man. He's out of California, and he's the real deal. And we watched him shake down cars during hot laps at the dirt track, and I couldn't believe the car control for this teenager. I think he might have been, 16, 17 at the time?
I think so, yeah. Well, not to say it was me. My first year down there, you weren't with me, but we called them the hooligans, the late model crate series.
Right.
Young kid named Austin Dillon in a black 3 car wins that there. Where people were it's like, why is everyone going nuts for this kid? But then you find out who it actually is, and then you see RC come up on a stage afterwards for him winning. But it's just you see a lot of that down there, especially with the dirt track being there, and that Friday night when there's nothing going on anyway. Yeah. You get all those Cup guys coming over and racing. Like we've seen Tony Stewart the other one night where he blew 4 engines.
Yeah.
You know, he blew it in like practice, blew one in a heat race, blew one in qualifying, and then we'll finish it off with the end.
Yep, exactly. Hey, there's my sister Amanda in the chat. Good to see you, sis. And we got Ben Tom says, stop by Pennsylvania and pick me up next time you come down here for a race. Oh, yeah, that's only like, what, 3 hours out of our way each way, since he's outside of Philly and we're usually driving down the western portion of the state.
Yeah. But yeah, it's
we can make arrangements though.
Well, we could, yeah. There's always arrangements. But yeah.
I was say, worst case, you get a commuter flight down to the Concord airport and we can pick you up right on the airstrip.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, so yeah, so this weekend, Talladega. And I think that's going to be fun to see. No qualifying, no practice. Get out in the track and have fun.
Exactly. Sis says, can't stay long, my first alone time since March, and I love you. But yes, I'll say your niece Sam is behaving very well because she's upstairs. There you go. Tom says, nice, I'll fly down. Yeah, like wherever you fly into, like we have connections all around that area.
Charlotte Douglas is only a half hour from the track because I did that last year.
Right.
I did that fly in Thursday, fly home Monday, just because someone didn't want to come down with me.
Well, somebody didn't have the opportunity to last year.
Ooh, because it was some conference in California.
Well, no, that was more. That was the budget for Nashville.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, so Talladega, we've talked about this.
Oh yeah. So
an interesting thing has popped up.
Oh, okay. Now I get to get my rant on.
Yeah.
So what's
Davidson, Mr. Davidson in the 77 Spire Motorsports car.
Yeah, okay. So Christ. All right. So here's a guy. He's making his Cup debut at Talladega, and it's also his first time in a stock car on an oval. Now, it used to be that you would, if you were going to be it has happened, you could show up at Daytona first of the year as a rookie, but you were driven around that track for days by a veteran, usually a Daytona 500 winner, possibly the latest. I think that was part of the obligations as the previous year's champ of the race. You went through a rookie school, rookie orientation, similar to what they do for the Indy 500. And that was if you were even qualified to even show up. Most of the time, you were restricted to 1.5 miles or less until you've proven yourself to run the super speedways. So to have this guy show up effectively out of nowhere, he's got a handful of road course starts in lower series.
He's got 3 Xfinity Series starts, road course starts for JGR. Apparently I've never heard of him, but he's an IMSA driver. And he has participated in a couple of the Indy 500s.
Okay.
He was a fill-in driver for somebody.
Okay. Well, now given that he's started in Indy 500, that does help. Even though it's an open wheel, but it's a big track, and the way those guys draft and go around that track.
I'm not sure he finished it, but he started.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that start restrictor plate races.
Yeah. Well, it's like they said, he's gonna go into turn 1, take out the field, and then what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, another Charlotte All-Star race from 1990, whatever, and everyone go get their backup cars and let's do this
Don't
again.
Even get me started on that one. My TV almost got thrown out the window that night.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Then, speaking of All-Star stuff.
Yeah.
We've had that now come down where it's
So they had announced a date for the All-Star race a little while back. And then as a result of things that we won't say, well, I suppose this isn't a monetized channel, so it doesn't matter. Due to a rise or a spike from COVID, that the All-Star race will no longer be at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and they're going to move it just up the road to Bristol.
And allow 30,000 people to come and watch.
Well, yeah, there is that too.
Yeah.
So, I've seen some opposition to the move on social media. Some people are blaming a variety of people for this. Not so much NASCAR as much. I'm seeing everyone but NASCAR getting blamed for it. But you know what? Hey, let's mix it up anyways. Let's move to Bristol for a year.
And we're not going to be there anyway. So, it's...
Exactly.
So then like you said, people really weren't upset. A lot of people were happy that it was being moved around. Finally out of Charlotte for the first time. Second time. Well, I can see why it's in Charlotte to begin with.
Yeah.
Because it gives those teams are all right there.
Yeah.
Gives those guys 2 weeks to be at home.
Yeah, because it is run at the same track as the 600 previous week, so you're running 2 weeks in a row at the same track.
Yeah. And everyone does live close. They can all just drive there.
Yeah.
But
and you know what, Doug? I've just thought to myself, back in the day, as far as for promoting it too, it very much aligned itself with Indy, right? Because, we've heard the stories from the old timers that, they used to have a dozen practice sessions, happy hours, what have you. And which is like Indy used to be, right? They were running those cars out on the track every day in May. And it was kind of the same thing, the second half of May in Charlotte, they were running stock cars.
Yep. So
amongst everything, because remember that when there was races that we never even knew about, like the hooligan races and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like the All-Star race full of all the people that weren't All-Stars.
Yep. Yep. So, like we said, everyone was kind of okay with the move. Then now yesterday, NASCAR throws one more somewhat wrench into it, saying, we're going to move the car numbers. The car numbers will not be on the doors. The car numbers will be right in front of the rear wheel. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh my gosh, you're changing the cars around. We can't handle this.
Right. Which allows for a big sponsor on the door panel of the car.
Yes. Well, if you were to watch a NASCAR Pinty's race,
they've been doing it for a while.
We are trendsetters up here in Canada because the numbers just aren't just in front of in front of the rear wheel. They're on that back quarter panel.
Right, which we've seen in dirt late model racing over the years. I pointed the old ASA series. That guys like Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin came up through. They ran it on the rear quarters back in the 90s, I remember.
Yeah.
Sort of the last legs of that series.
So, like with the Pinty series, they have that choice of door, front of the wheel, behind the wheel. They have their choice of running it.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Cup is following Pinty's in that way with the numbers? How soon will it be till Dodge is back?
I've heard, I've heard for a while. They've been flirting with this number movement stuff because Dale Jr. has been rather vocal on it.
Yep.
Personally, I like them on the doors. It is tradition, but I think part of this happenstance has come about because it used to be you would see 20 to 30 contingency sponsors on a Cup car, and they're all gone except for Goodyear.
Yep.
You literally have Goodyear, your NASCAR race car inspection decal,
NASCAR Heat,
whereas here's a random car from the early 2000s, and we're looking at here I'll present myself for it because we'll just look at both the volume between the two wheels. Like, come on, folks, that's a lot of contingency money. And they used to always pay like $1,000 or $2,000 out to various drivers every race. So, times have changed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And, honestly, they're going to try anything to try to keep it going.
Well, exactly. And you want
what have you.
Maintain if it's something to help bring those sponsors in, even if it's just for this race, let it go.
Exactly.
And
it's the All-Star race is the place to do this stuff.
Well, yeah.
That was kind of the birth of the alternate paint scheme, was the All-Star race.
Yep. and the cheated up car.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. Something I wanted to touch on this week too was favorite drivers, because neither of us are kids anymore. So I'm sure you've had more than one favorite driver over the years.
Yep.
So obviously we're both supporting our current drivers here. Doug's been a Truex fan since basically
my first NASCAR race, 2006.
Yeah. So basically, hit Martin's entire Cup career for sure. Me, Clint Boyer. Geez, prior to that, I always cheered for the guys at the back of the field with the smaller budgets. Definitely a lifelong Ken Schrader fan because he's a racer's racer. And but who was your first favorite driver?
I don't think I really had a quote unquote Winston Cup favorite driver, right? Because I'd get the magazines, because like I said last week, would go to Flamborough Speedway with my dad. So I rocked the Hanley Enterprises T-shirt. So I was a big Junior Hanley fan.
Nice.
Just because he was just that.
Well,
top
he was our Dick Trickle. He was Canada's Dick Trickle.
Yep. And I got to see him race against Dick Trickle at Flamborough.
Right.
Like I said last week, you got the Don Biedermans, the Randy Slacks, the guys that would come in like that, and it was just, you got all those big races, and he would come in, and they would do their twin 75s or triple 50s or whatever, and he would win the first race. Then they'd invert the field, and he'd be starting at the back, and he'd win the second race, and then they'd invert the field again if it was the triple 50s for the third race, and he's taken that win in the third race. He'd sweep all three races.
Sure.
Because he was just that good of a driver.
Yep. What about your first favorite Cup driver?
Well, like I said, I didn't really have one, so I've got to say Truex has actually been my one that I was like, that's my guy. Now I did have like the small little die-cast cars or whatever, the 164th when I was younger, of the Waltrip Dygaard car. I had the Petty, the ones that come out. There was like I believe there was also a name, just I forget now if it was the Allison or the Buddy Baker, the 21 Valvoline car.
Okay.
So
21?
Yeah, the 21.
21 Valvoline. What era?
Oh, It was in the 80s.
80s? So yeah, that could have been Buddy Baker, because he went back for the 21 or the 27.
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's upstairs. It's up in my collection upstairs.
We got Joe Hervey saying Mark Martin, John Parsons saying Richard Petty. Yeah, like when I was really little, I remember I liked Richard Petty. He seemed really cool. We're talking, young kid, but
I have seen Richard Petty. You did not, because I said, "Hey, look, the King," and you went, and he was over this way, and you went, "Huh?" Yeah.
I have seen him other times though at the track.
But he was like right beside us in a golf cart, and he'd give me the thumbs up.
But I always gravitated towards Cale Yarborough and Bobby Allison. I think those were the big two, and as a result, and then I'd say as I got a little older, definitely the Allisons, and then when Davey came along, I was a huge Davey Allison fan. For sure. And that was great stuff. And I'll even say, unfortunately, because we lost Davey Allison when we did during his rookie year, I was rooting for Jeff Gordon because he was out there and he was our age. Running against everyone else was our dad's age, it seemed.
And I will say for you, your dirt car, the wing car, I know for a fact you were and were or still are.
Oh, yes.
Slammy Swindell.
Yeah.
You did have to kind of slide out of the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track. The dirt track is Charlotte Motor Speedway.
A couple of times.
Because that night I think he did hit everything but the pace car. Even had somebody even go over and try and take him out of his car.
Yep.
During a red flag.
Yep. Yeah. He not only did he take out the top World of Outlaw drivers, but he took out half the Cup guys that were running.
and he took over for Ricky Stenhouse because Ricky was in the race.
Right.
He did Ricky's dirty work.
Yes, he did. Yeah, but definitely Davey Ellison was a huge one. And then I remember I was a Dale Earnhardt fan in high school. And I say briefly because it was a couple of years. And then they started showing some old races and stuff, and you can get hands on a handful of VHS tapes. And then I realized that Darrell Waltrip was doing all the same stuff Earnhardt was doing, but he started doing it 5-10 years earlier than Dale. And I went, well, now this guy's the man. And right at that time, he was just wrapping up his tenure with Hendrick and just started his own team. He had that Western Auto car, and he was doing pretty good till the bad Daytona wreck in 93 or 94. And then after that, he was just happy with finishing wherever. He's even admitted as much in his book.
Yeah. So I know you're saying that you're the Sammy Swindell. I'm going with the guy who should be up on top of the standings right now, but Larson is kind of kicking butt down there. Is Tony Stewart Racing's Donnie Schatz. I am
a Donnie Schatz guy.
But yeah.
There was a few dirt guys over the years I enjoy. The Blaneys. I was always a big fan of the Blaneys.
Yeah.
And and I remember it being a huge deal when Steve Kinser started driving for Kenny Bernstein's team. Kenny Bernstein, the drag racer, had his own team, the number 26 Quaker State Oldsmobile. And Steve Kinser was the first driver for that. And it never quite clicked. And then, not too long after, we saw Blaney starting to make some starts and Swindell coming over to Cup for a while. And, they were the first open wheel invaders before all the IndyCar guys started coming over. There was a plethora of sprint car guys all through the 90s trying to make it because the road to Indy had dried up, right?
Mm-hmm. And now that the sprint car stuff is kind of starting to take another little tick upward. I'm gonna say that could be because this year with Kyle going back over, but yeah.
Yeah. Now is and Stewart, he obviously runs select events, and is Casey Kane running sprints as well?
Yeah. So Casey Kane is running for his own team,
right?
The Casey Kane Racing, which is another. If you're in the Mooresville area,
beautiful shop.
That whole little block is just phenomenal.
Yeah, where a lot of Cup guys have their own personal shops.
Well, there's the Petty Xfinity shop is there.
Yeah.
You got Truex as a shop. Dale Jr. shop is right there. Casey Kane Racing.
Yep.
Red Horse Racing, when they were still going, was there.
Yep. Was Doherty race JTG Doherty in that same industrial park?
I think they could have been, yeah.
And I want to say somebody else too. That's just escaping me right now.
Yeah, but it looks like just some nondescript little industrial park, but it's just like race shop after race shop, then like junior race shop, like regular looking building.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So yes, folks, if you have any questions for Doug or myself, ask away for sure. And
then the other little thing that went on, because there's been so many little things.
A lot of little things.
Which this last year and this year I missed was having our little powwow in the man cave down in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Hall of Fame selection.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about Oh, now that's where I get to be the sad sack because I said they were already starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel 5-6 years ago, in my opinion, of a real Hall of Fame, as opposed to it seems like more of just a country club at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But who are the inductees this year?
So you got Mike Stefanik, modified driver.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Mike had a long career, including he ran in the Truck Series on and off for years too.
Cut short by that helicopter accident there, right? He could still be racing.
Yep.
Then
another guy that brought a lot of chassis to the series.
And then you got Dale Earnhardt Jr. going in from the modern era.
Well, he did have 2 Xfinity titles, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
which, and I said, that means Truex is a lock for the for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because he's got 1 more championship in the biggest series too.
Yep.
But and again, I can almost see it because again, wins aren't everything. They've already shown, personality counts for something.
Yeah.
Because you figure even going like someone like Bill Elliott, hell of a nice guy, but 1 championship. 1 championship does not make you a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Then who would have thought he would be the only guy still racing, being Red Farmer, who apparently, who was it, Nate Ryan last night on the NBC program, got him to say that he will be 88 in October.
Wow.
And he said that he will be at the Hall of Fame induction if he's not racing next year.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because he still does race.
Yeah. And here's a guy who was in that helicopter crash with Davey Allison.
Yeah.
And he's been racing with a prosthetic in his arm since then.
Because he was one of the founders of the Alabama gang.
Yep.
Right? So.
Exactly. And the only one from Alabama originally. Yeah. So, and now I don't I'll have to look it up. I know from reading the Bobby Allison book, I know Red and Bobby did a lot of Grand National racing back in the 70s, what's now today's Xfinity series. But I don't recall Red Farmer ever winning a NASCAR championship, and I don't recall him ever running a full season, other than maybe, again, 70s, maybe into the 80s. I don't know if he really warrants the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Motorsports Hall of Fame, out in Talladega, definitely, hands down. Yeah. But NASCAR Hall of Fame, I don't know about that.
Well, and that's the thing the whole thing is up. It's that whole big debate, right?
Yeah. And with one other guy?
There was one more, and that name just escapes me. It was another, a founders category. I think it was one other separate category.
Okay.
Let me try and look that up here.
Yeah, you look that up. I'm just going to double check the chat here. Looks like we're caught up. We got 6 people watching. We appreciate it, folks. That's a good question. Still, Red Farmer. I don't know about that. Here's a question for you off the top of your head. How many members were there in the Alabama gang?
I'm not sure.
I can think of 5 off the top of my head. 6 if we count Clifford Ellison.
Okay, so the Landmark Award went to Ralph Seagraves.
I know the name.
Was the last one.
Yeah. That's like when they put a broadcaster in the Hockey Hall of Fame, right? It's yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got active owners in the Hall of Fame. What's that about?
Yeah. So, so that's just one more thing we need to go because now stuff has changed in that Hall of Fame to go and check out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're due. We're due for another trip to the Hall of Fame. And, I'd be curious to see. I'm guessing there won't be as much of a Jimmy Johnson exhibit as the last time we were there.
No. Well, more of that.
That might have been when we went, might have been the last year he was defending champ.
What year did we go?
We would have gone. Now the question is, what did we go to the Hall of Fame the year that Karma and Grayson went down with us?
No.
Okay.
That may have been the whole backwoods debacle trip.
It was, because that was the same.
We can't talk about here.
Yeah, that was the same day, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I don't recall ever just the 2 of us going down for the trip.
Oh yeah, we did. There's been times we have.
I don't think so, dude.
No, you're right.
No, I think we left. Right. We left Karma and Grayson at the campsite, and just the 2 of us went.
So that would have
been any other year, whoever was with us would have come along, right?
That's 2016. Because that was the 600.
The 600, yes.
So I kind of remember the end of somehow.
Nervous wreck you were. Nervous wreck.
Thankfully, there's no pictures of the aftermath.
Yeah, we all put the cameras and phones away for the most part. Yeah.
I spend most of my time in Victory Lane anyway.
But at least you were allowed to let loose. It was the night before that. I remember someone going into the trailer to grab a drink, and then I come in a couple minutes later to grab one, and you're getting ready for bed, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm going to bed. Yeah. Really? And you're like, I don't want to. And I got a look from your wife.
Huh. But the drive home, I wish it would have been the opposite.
Yeah. And then, because I remember, then she looked at me, and I'm like, well, I'm grabbing another drink. And she gave me the dirtiest look, and I'm like, yeah. I crawled into bed a couple hours later.
She knows it's for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that was because she would pull me aside, and she's like, we need to keep an eye on Doug. I'm like, why? He says, he's drinking more each day than he did the entire trip last year. And I said, well, that's because I'm here, and we're having fun.
Yeah.
My fault.
It's all because of you.
Yeah. I said, blame me. Go ahead. I also explained to her that we generally drink more during that trip than we do the rest of the year combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a wreck fest.
It's a wreck fest, and that's not just the late model drivers on Friday night.
Yeah. But no, it's... So you showed off at Diecast last week.
Yep.
Now, there is a story behind your hat. I don't think we talked about it last week.
No, because I wasn't wearing it last week.
No, you weren't. No. Yeah, so we were in the walking around the garage area.
Yeah, and I loved wearing this hat down in Charlotte because it's very lightweight, mesh, white.
During the Xfinity Series, I believe, race, was it?
Yeah. No, it was during, let me think.
All-Star race?
No, it was during Xfinity practice because Austin was still just running the Xfinity Series. And because Ty, we're talking about the Dillon boys. Dillon was running the truck series
because he had run the first Pinty's race.
Yeah, he ran the Pinty's race up at Mossport because the truck series ran there later in the year. Yeah, and so we ran into him and his girlfriend at the time, now wife, in the garage area. Yeah, and remember, because we had happened to hear about it.
Yeah, so she was wanting to get to the pit box to sit on their pit box for the race.
Yeah, she was in a hurry, but then when I was talking to Ty, I said, hey, you're up there doing some testing, blah, 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 because he was testing a few days prior to the race as well, really trying to nail down this track, which is a very difficult track to run. And so on a personal level, one, I've attended quite a few races there, and two, for a number of years, my uncle actually held the track record there on a motorcycle. And we've bench raced a lot talking about how to get around that track. So he and I were doing some bench racing, talking about the best lines and stuff. And he's like, hey, wow, thanks for the info, random Canadian guy. Yeah. And his girlfriend is standing there.
Yeah, she was shooting down.
I hadn't seen that look for another couple of years after the Popeyes chicken incident. I saw the same look. Yeah. Ironically enough, both in Charlotte. So, he said, thanks for the info, but I got to run because she's literally dragging him. Yeah. And so I had Ty sign my hat, which is actually the 2007 Daytona 500.
And he's like, I've never run a Daytona 500 before.
He's like, I've never run a Daytona 500. I said, well, this is what I got to sign. And he went,
you will.
Okay. Yeah, I said, you will. Nice kid.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like all the drivers, if you've never had a chance to get on the infield or in the garage area, not all the drivers, we'll talk about that at a later time as well too. Yeah. We'll stop and talk with you and kind of just shoot the breeze, talk, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. It's good times. And unless they're like you can tell if they're in a hurry or not. And chances are if they're in a hurry halftime, it's because they're headed to the porta potty.
Yeah.
So
or like my one time with seeing Truex there in the garage yard, he was just coming out of the hauler, and I think it was right after practice. He had to go to the media center,
right.
And I was kind of getting an autograph because I just talked with him 2 days before.
Yeah, I was there for that one.
And I was like, hey, you remember me? He's like, yeah, come with me. So then I'm walking off to the media center with Truex.
Yeah, and of course, and you turned around to look at me. I'm like, go,
yeah,
just go. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, go. And because I was a little surprised at that too, because we had run into Cole Pern just prior to that, his crew chief at the time, and we were talking with him, and that was cool. And he knew who Doug was because Doug harasses him on social media on a daily basis during.
Because he went to school like a couple minutes down the road here. He went to university.
Yeah. And hey, shout out! We got Big G Gary Tholander in the chat. Good to see you, man. So we had talked to Cole, and then Martin. Literally, as soon as Doug, it was like as he was saying, "Hey, you remember me?" and I could already see the look on Martin's face. Is like, "Yeah, I know you."
Yeah, you're the crazy Canadian that stayed in the infield while it's been like torrential downpour for 4 days.
Yep.
That's me.
He knows that. So Doug goes off with Martin, and what did I do? I loitered around. Oh, I was trying to meet up with Tony Stewart, but he was busy. Because as soon as you left, I'm like, I'm going to circle back to Tony Stewart because that was his last year, I think, running that car.
I believe it was.
So, that was really cool. Well, hey, we hit our time limit. Actually, we did 2 minutes overtime.
2 minutes over, yep.
Nice. So, anything, Dad? Looking forward to Talladega this weekend. Cup prediction on a win?
I don't know. In my NASCAR pool that I'm in, I took Truex on Wednesday night. I took Denny on Sunday. I was behind by about like 20 points. I'm now only 3 points back of first with getting those two guys at the win. So I'm gonna stick with my JGR guys, and I think Kyle's gonna pull it out. I think he's gonna break that. I think he's gonna break that super speedway jinx that he's kind of got going on. And I'm gonna say Kyle.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think either of our drivers is going to do it if they're both battling it near the end, because I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski this week.
Yeah.
Because Brad is always competitive on the restrictor plate tracks, but has some terrible luck as well at the restrictor plate tracks. So I think as long as both of our picks can avoid Ricky Stenhouse, Jimmy Johnson, and thank God Jamie Murray's retired, we should be able to avoid Chase Elliott.
One thing we didn't talk about from Sunday, that could boil over this Sunday coming up is Joey Logano, Chase Elliott,
or Joey Logano and Ryan Newman as well.
Yeah, but Logano has come out and said this week that because he was laps down, he didn't want Chase to win, so he blocked him.
Right.
Sunday.
This is true. Yeah. So, Joey Logano, keep your eyes out for that 9 car and the 6 car.
Well, and that's why I'm saying maybe Chase's focus won't be on the 18 for Darlington. Chase may be looking after Logano.
Nothing wrong with that.
He may team up with Kenseth. Who knows?
Who knows? There we go. Oh, yeah. Wall for sure, Joe. Put him in the wall. So there we are. So, thanks everyone that tuned in. It's been an awesome episode 2 for the NasCanucks show. I'm Ben. He's Doug. Keep the pedal to the metal. And personal work, you can go the high side. High, wide, and handsome.
Yeah. I just got to go right.
There we go. Yeah, go fast, hang a left.
Yeah, I'm going right.